Today we're going to show you how to install an HB Industries handguard on a CZ Scorpion. The process will be the same whether you have a pistol or a carbine, and it will also be the same whether you choose to use a micro, pistol, or a carbine length handguard from HB Industries. The factory handguard is shown here. It's polymer, has Picatinny on the bottom and the sides. The HB Industries handguard is different in that it's made from aluminum, and it has M-lock on all three sides, both sides and the bottom, and the top is Picatinny to match the receiver. The important thing to note about any time you work on firearms is that you should work within your own abilities, and we do recommend gunsmith installation on all products. So that said, let's go ahead and show you how to install a new handguard on your CZ Scorpion. We are lucky enough today to have a brand new FDE pistol, and we thought we would go ahead and use the FDE model because hopefully on camera it'll show up better using a black handguard. So this is, again, brand new, never been out of the box. The goal is, again, to be able to see the gun well on camera, and also any problems we run into taking it apart should be pretty common. One thing that we see a lot is the barrel nuts when you go to take the handguard off. They tend to be caked in Loctite, so we'll see if we get lucky or how it goes on this one, but regardless, let's go ahead and take it apart. So the first thing to do, always with any firearm, is just to check, make sure it's clear. So we got nothing in the breech, no magazine in the mag well. Let's go ahead and cycle the bolt, hammer down so we know the weapon's clear. So let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna go ahead and use a pistol handguard on this Scorpion. So we get our box, our HB Industries handguard box, and let's open it and just verify we have all of the components. So we're gonna see we've got the pistol handguard, we have a trunnion block or mount, and we're also gonna have a couple pieces of hardware. We have a handguard hardware kit and also a charging handle hardware kit, and we will get to those a little bit later. So for now, let's go ahead and get the factory handguard off, and we'll work on getting the new handguard installed. So to get the factory handguard off, let's go ahead and remove the flash hider. Right hand thread, so just by hand you can spin it off. With the flash hider off, the next thing to do is going to be to remove the handguard itself. To do that, we're going to place the firearm in a vise. In our vise, we've got neoprene soft jaws. Today, it's just important that you use a soft jawed vise on your polymer gun. Using the steel jaws, or if you use aluminum, you're going to mark up the polymer. So go ahead and, with your soft jaws in the vise, let's place the firearm into the vise. And we're gonna go ahead and remove the barrel nut. To do that, there are a couple different tools that we can use. The factory barrel nut has two flats on it. They're 20 millimeters apart. On this one, we can see that we can get the open end wrench on there, but it's gonna be a little difficult to not damage the handguard. So there are tools available. We sell them, so HB Industries, we do sell a tool. It's just a flat wrench that lets you spin off the barrel nut on the pistols without marking up the handguard. The carbine is going to take a different tool. It's a longer, it looks like a socket extension. We do have those as well, and again, they're available from many places. This model is a Gen 2, so it has half 28 threads on the end of the barrel. If you want, you can remove the thread cover just to kind of keep it out of the way. We'll set that aside for now. So let's go ahead and put our wrench on the lock nut and see if we get lucky. So our wrench, again, we manufacture it. It's heat treated alloy steel, and then it's a 1/2 inch socket adapter. So we are going to find out how much Loctite we have on this barrel. So it's tight, but I think we're going to be able to get it off. So go about a 1/4 turn and then flip the wrench. quarter turn, flip the wrench, flip the wrench. And there are some debonders available. We're not using it today, but there is one made by Bob Smith Industries. It's kind of like a super glue debonder. You can buy this or similar chemicals and kind of leave them on your barrel nut overnight. It's obviously a lot easier with the pistols. On a carbine, you don't have direct access to the barrel nut, so that makes it a little more difficult. But this one, again, we got kind of, I don't know if we got lucky, but it's not on as well as some of the others. Once we get more clearance around the handguard, as the barrel nut starts to back off, we'll be able to spin the nut 360 here in a second without touching the handguard. So they'll start to go a lot quicker here at the end. There we go. There we go. So now our barrel nut, yeah, it's coming off by hand. So there we go. You can kind of see all the thread locker in there. It does tend to absorb oil, so I think it's probably white at the factory and then turns brown as the oil gets absorbed into it. But let's guess, yeah, that's what it looks like. So let's go ahead and take our handguard off now, so we can take the firearm out of the vise, and we'll put it back on the table. And we can go ahead and slide our the whole handguard off. It'll come off, and there's a retaining collar inside. It just kind of holds the handguard in place. We're gonna discard all of these items when we put on the new handguard. The charging handle will retain, and the sights, up to you. You can retain them or discard them. So we can go ahead and set the barrel nut and the collar aside, because we're not going to reuse those. And we're going to slide the charging handle out the back side or out the receiver side of the handguard. And we'll reuse the charging handle. The sight, on this one, let's go ahead and reuse it. It's a 3mm Allen key, so you can just kind of loosen it up, and we'll remove the sight there, and we'll take the handguard, the factory handguard, and set it aside because it won't be reused. So regarding the 18x1 threads, I guess for those new to the Scorpion, these are the larger threads are 18x1, the smaller threads are half 28. The half 28 is going to be desirable for muzzle devices, suppressors, things of that nature. The 18x1 is more of a factory kind of a proprietary thread. So we're going to go ahead and clean these threads up. Just a stainless steel brush will work pretty well on the thread locker that's there. If you want to use chemicals or kind of get more involved, you can. But we found that just brushing it off with just a nice stainless steel wire brush seems to be the best way. So as we're doing this, also realize that we need to take out our swivel sling mounts for the sling. They dovetail into the trunnion, and without the factory handguard, they'll just fall out. So go ahead and discard those as well. We're not going to reuse them. On the HBI handguard, we'll use QD points, or we can use any type of M-lock sling attachment. So we're going to go ahead and discard these as well. So to attach our adapter block to the trunnion, we're going to use the supplied hardware. Included are several components. We have a T25 tool, Torx tool, a roll pin for the charging handle, then a T25 screw for the adapter block, and 4 flathead T25 screws for attaching the handguard to our adapter block. To put the adapter block on the trunnion, we're just going to note the 2 dowel pins that are protruding from one side of the adapter block. That's the side that's going to face the lower receiver. Another thing to kind of watch for is on the factory barrel, there's stake marks around the outside diameter of where the back collar on the barrel kind of butts up against the front side of the trunnion. On some guns, we've seen them higher, or I guess deeper stakes than others. This one feels pretty good. If yours feel raised, or if you go to put your adapter block on and you notice that it's not sliding over like easily, I would say, if you can't, yeah, there we go. If you can't just slide it over, you may have to use a file to kind of file down the punch marks from staking. And again, to do that, don't remove material, just kind of knock the stake marks flat with both surfaces on the barrel and the trunnion. So again, let's real quick just verify with the dowel pins facing the upper receiver. We're going to slide our adapter block on and just, again, kind of verify fitment, and we'll see how it locks up, and the dowel pins are going to come over and locate on the top side of the trunnion. This is very, very important because we need the charging handle channels in the handguard to mate up with the charging handle channels in the upper receiver and the bolt. So once we've verified fitment and we know that's just going to slide on nice and easy, let's go ahead and get our mounting screw in there. Again, we're going to use the longer T25 cap head screw. In this situation, we can use 2 types of Loctite. If you don't think you're going to remove it, we do recommend using like a red 271 Loctite. If there is an opportunity to where you think you're going to be removing your handguard or the trunnion mount in the future, 243, the blue, not 242, the 243 blue is higher temperature and works really well. We've had good results with both of these, and I think in this one we're going to go ahead and use red, but again, if you want to use blue, you can. If you use red and want to apply heat later, these 2 3mm screws in the upper receiver, you can take those out and get the trunnion out and then apply heat to it, so you don't have to apply heat to it while it's in the polymer receiver. So let's use our red Loctite. We're going to apply just a drop to the threads on our longer T25 screw, and with our Loctite applied, go ahead and start the screw into our adapter block, and we'll use our Torx key to start it in there. And don't tighten it down, just kind of install it till it's loosely fitting, but that the screw is, again, in place and the thread locker has already started to kind of engage the other side. And then take your adapter block and we're going to slide it back onto the trunnion. We just a second ago verified that it fit and that we weren't going to have any issues, because we just don't want the Loctite to start drying before we get the trunnion block in place. So with the trunnion block in place, it shouldn't spin, it should lock up really nice. Let's go ahead and tighten down that T25 screw. We're looking for 25 to 30 inch-pounds, so 2 to 3 foot-pounds would be the most. We supply a short arm key just so that you'll have a more difficult time exceeding that number. We're going to tighten it down. If you don't have a torque wrench, again, you can use your short key, and you want it tight, 25 to 30 inch-pounds tight. If you have a T25 driver set and a torque wrench, again, set it for 25, 28, 30 inch-pounds and go ahead and drive it home. So yeah, once it's tight and installed, let's go ahead and get our handguard the handguard just slides over the barrel, it free floats it, and mounts up to our trunnion mount. The important thing to note is that whether you're going to use a pistol length, we make a micro length, we also have a carbine length, they're all going to mount to the adapter block the same way. So for example, if you have a carbine and you want to switch to a pistol or vice versa, you don't need to remove your adapter block. They're all going to mount up in the exact same manner. This is good in the case of the carbine. It was designed so that if you did want to run a carbine length suppressor shroud, or I'm sorry, a carbine length handguard, you can shroud your suppressor, and if for whatever reason the back cap stays on your threads, or if you're using a 3-lug and then you want to install the 3-lug before the handguard, you can do those operations independently. You have full access to your barrel threads with the handguard installed. So you can always remove your handguard, access your barrel threads, and put the handguard back on. So let's go ahead and mount up our handguard. We're going to use, again, the T25 driver, and we'll use our 4 flathead screws to install it. These screws, you can use Loctite, but again, if you're going to be taking the handguard on and off for a suppressor shroud, or if you anticipate taking off for any reason, we'd recommend you don't use too much Loctite. Again, the blue 243 is a good one in this case, so that's what we're going to use. It's not permanent, and while it will be more difficult to get off, we have supplied Torx screws, and the reason for a Torx head versus a Hex or Allen or a Phillips is that the Torx heads are going to look nice and continue to work well on and off, on and off, on and off, time and time again. They won't strip, and while it might be tricky to find a key, we do include, again, a key, and they will look nicer longer. So let's go ahead and use a little bit of blue on each of the screws. Just a drop. And we're going to go ahead and start each screw, not torque it down completely, but we'll start each screw, and then we'll come back and torque them. Similar to doing a wheel on a car, we're going to try to apply fairly even torque as we go left and right, up and down. So we'll get the left side screws not tight, but kind of just in place. Let's flip it over, and we'll do the same thing on the right. And that's enough for 2 screws. So they're blue Loctite on the threads. Let's go ahead and start them. And these flatheads, again, we're going to use the same T25 key. If you have a torque wrench and a T25 driver, we'll go ahead and do 20 to 25 inch-pounds on these screws. And as we kind of start to tighten them down, we'll go left to right, and just apply a little more torque each time, maybe a quarter turn at a time until we feel them bottom out. So they're starting to get pretty tight now. Yeah. So the left side is tight, and we're going to go ahead and torque down the right side. And if there's any excess Loctite on the handguard, we can kind of wipe it off, any oil or anything as well. So the next thing to do is to fit the charging handle. The factory charging handle should be used with our handguards because our handguards are machined from aluminum and the factory charging handle is polymer, and they run really well together. If you want to use an aftermarket charging handle, for example, we make aftermarket charging handles, and they're machined from aluminum. You'll have two similar metals running together, so aluminum charging handle and aluminum handguard, and they will be stiffer and have more friction. So aluminum charging handle works well in the factory handguard because the factory handguard is polymer. Our handguard, being aluminum, is not going to run as smoothly. So you can use them, I guess, just to show you. It'll run for you, but it likes to be pulled straight back. If you pull down on it and back, or up and back, it doesn't run as smoothly. So again, for that reason, we do recommend using a polymer charging handle, specifically a factory charging handle. And in addition to that, we do supply another charging handle spring. The factory charging handle has a really stiff preload on it. The wire spring is fairly stiff. So we supply a reduced weight wire spring and a roll pin. To replace the spring, we're just going to drive out the roll pin in the factory charging handle. You can reuse that, or again, we supply another one in case you need it. They are small and easy to lose. So let's go ahead and remove the wire spring from the factory charging handle. We're going to use a 1/16 inch punch and just a small armorer's hammer. So we'll put the charging handle into the vise, and again, using soft jaws, we're going to clamp onto the finger catch. And just gonna center it more. Clamp it in the vise. And using a 1.5 millimeter punch, we're going to drive out the roll pin that secures the wire spring. And you don't have to drive it all the way through. We just need to drive it about 2/3 of the way. There we go. If we leave it in that back wall, we can just should be able to pull off the, oopsie, a little more. Should be able to then, so if we leave the roll pin in that back wall, we should be able to pull off the charging handle spring and leave the roll pin in the charging handle. That way we don't lose it. But again, if you do lose the roll pin, we supplied another one. So let's go ahead and take our factory spring and put it aside, and we'll grab our reduced weight spring. I'm going to slide it back into the channel. The raised portion goes up and out of the charging handle. So kind of install it, slide it down into the channel, and again, take note that the raised portion is above the flat end of the charging handle. And let's go ahead and tap our roll pin back in. And we want it to be flush on both sides. Super easy. Let's get our charging handle out of the vise. And one more time, just to check function, make sure that there is a portion of the spring above the OD of the rod, and that the roll pin is flush on both sides. And we'll take it, and we'll go ahead and drop it into the charging handle, or I'm sorry, drop the charging handle into the handguard. It'll install left side or right side. We're going to go ahead and leave it in the left side, kind of check function. Go ahead and lock the charging handle back and make sure everything's working. And then the last thing to do is going to be to put the roll pin in front of the charging handle so that it can't come flying out. So put our springs aside and use our roll pin. It's a 4mm pin. You can use a 4mm, a 3mm punch. Also 5/32 punch would work. And so let's go ahead and just drive the roll pin through. Start it with the hammer, and we'll finish it with our punch. And it's below, or I'd say it's beneath or below the outside surface of our handguard, and you can kind of feel that it's not protruding from the other side, and that's what you want, just kind of centered in the handguard. That way it locks in our charging handle. So with that, the new handguards installed, and I guess the final things to do would be to go ahead and put the thread protector back on our 1/2-28. And without the spring detent from the factory barrel nut, we're going to go ahead and use some more. You can again use 243, it's high temp blue, or you can red Loctite it on. We're going to use some blue on the inside of our threads. And spin our flash tire on. You may choose to do to kind of torque it down either with the strap wrench or by hand. Charging handle should stay back. And the last thing is going to be our front sight. So I guess again, let's set the charging handle forward. 3mm Allen key is going to put our front sight on. The CZ sights are kind of tricky. The easiest thing I guess that we found to do is just line up the laser etching or line up the hex heads, because they do kind of look symmetrical, but they're not. So we'll go ahead and mount our front sight. Kind of torque that screw down. And with the front sight installed, we're ready to go to the range and function check and test the weapon. So that is start to finish how to install an HP Industries handguard. Thanks for watching.